Marcus Johnson, carrying a bag of groceries, was walking home from the corner shop in Crescent City. The air was thick with the humid summer air that clung to the streets all around him. It seemed to everybody who passed him that he was just another black guy wearing a hoodie. He was nondescript and inconspicuous, the type of person that corrupt law enforcement officers enjoyed going after. In addition, it is precisely what took place. When a police car pulled up next to him, the tires of the vehicle crunched over the fractured pavement. "Hey you," a sneering voice said, as the window slid down and the window descended. "Put an immediate halt, ... Marcus wore a sigh. He was familiar with this pattern. When Officers Riggs and Delaney emerged from the building, their badges shone brightly in the light of the streetlights. Riggs, a hulking guy who had a frown on his face all the time, folded his arms. Come across as someone who fits the profile of a robbery suspect, he lied with ease. "Your pockets to the brim." Marcus maintained his composure. "I am just about to go for home, cops. There's no need for this." The younger of the two, Delaney, gave a disapproving grin. "What is required will be decided by us." "Is it possible for us to see your hands?" He was subjected to a pat-down, during which they searched through his groceries and threw his wallet on the ground. As soon as they discovered nothing, Riggs' jaw became more rigid. "Still, let's take him in," she said. Refusing to be arrested, Marcus let out a somber laugh. "Are you resisting?" "I am not in any hurry. That simply served to aggravate them more." He was thrown into the back of the police vehicle after having his wrists cuffed and then having handcuffs placed around them. As they drove away, Riggs looked in the rearview mirror for a moment. "Have no fear, my friend." It was a sarcastic statement that dripped like venom. "You'll get a fair trial." Marcus seemed unaffected as he leaned back. "You can be sure that I will." The cops laughed as they processed him as they hauled him into the precinct where he was being held. She mumbled, "Another one bites the dust," as she tossed Marcus's paperwork onto the desk. "Another one bites the dust." It was difficult for the sergeant on duty to look up. "What is the fee?" "There is a suspicion of robbery." Fighting back. Just as usual, a sigh of relief came from Marcus. "In all honesty, I'd like to make a phone call," she said. An eye roll was made by Riggs. "Of course, dude. Once you have a reservation." Marcus wore a grin. "It is not. Right now." The sergeant paused for a moment because of something in his tone. The color left his cheeks as he strained his eyes to look at Marcus, and then at the paperwork. Oh no," she said. Riggs wore a frown. "What is it?" Marcus rose slowly, deftly putting his hands inside his back pocket as he was restrained. His badge was not that of a law enforcement officer. It belonged to a judge. "The station as a whole has frozen." As he spoke, his voice sounded like thunder. "Judge Marcus Johnson," he continued. "It is my honor to preside over the 12th District Court. You just abducted a judge who was already in operation." When Riggs opened and closed his mouth, it was like a fish. Delaney retreated a few steps and shook his head in response. "Not at all. It is not even somewhat plausible." Marcus gave a smirk. "Oh, it's not out of the question. In addition, let's talk about the allegations that have been brought against you. False imprisonment, misuse of authority, and yes, breaching my civil rights." The sergeant made a mad dash to unlock his handcuffs. "Your Honor, we were completely unaware." With a rubbing motion on his wrists, Marcus said, "That is the problem. You can never be sure. On the other hand, you presume. And what about now?" He took out his phone and displayed a video that had been captured of the whole arrest operation. "As of right now, the whole planet will in." In the morning, the tale was widely disseminated. After being caught, the corrupt police officers were suspended. A comprehensive inquiry was initiated by the department. Is it Judge Johnson too? The next day, he appeared in court with his suit pressed and his head held high, because he wasn't the only one involved in this. It concerned every single black guy who did not own a badge that might be pulled out. Is there justice? At long last, it was arriving. The instant Judge Marcus Johnson's badge was illuminated, the precinct descended into a state of complete and utter anarchy. All of a sudden, officers who had been sitting back and relaxing at their workstations sprang up upright. As he struggled to find the key to the handcuffs, the sergeant's hands began to shake out of control. At first, the sergeant stutteringly said, "Your Honor, we had no idea." Marcus halted him with a raised hand and cut him off. "Save it. I want every second of my unlawful detainment on record. Yeah, and I want internal affairs in this building now. Riggs, the more physically capable of the two policemen who were making the arrest, became a sickly shade of gray. In the younger of the two, Delaney, it seemed as if he was ready to throw up. Not waiting for an answer was Marcus's behavior. He took out his phone and phoned a number while he looked at it. Chief Morrison, Judge Johnson. I'm at the 14th precinct. You're going to want to get down here immediately. Within 20 minutes, Chief Lorna Morrison strode into the station, her keen eyes sweeping the room before turning to Marcus. Marcus was the target of her attention, said with a tense tone Judge Johnson as she began. I apologize for this. Unfortunate misunderstanding. Marcus gave a smirk. Misunderstanding, Chief? Your officers kidnapped me. They fabricated charges, and if I were just another black man without a badge, I'd be sitting in a cell right now waiting for a court date I couldn't afford. The jaw of the chief was tightened. You went to Riggs and Delaney for assistance. You too? My office? Now, however, Marcus was not finished. They're not going to your office for a slap on the wrist. They're being arrested, right here, right now. The rooms were filled with a startled hush. Marcus opened up the video on his phone. It showed Riggs and Delaney lying about a robbery suspect, roughing him up, and then laughing as they processed him. The video was clear. Marcus said in a calm manner, that constitutes felony false imprisonment, civil rights violations. And if we dig deeper, I'm betting we'll find a pattern. The chief was hesitant, but she was aware that she had no other option. Riggs and Delaney were placed under arrest by two of her most trusted cops, as she gave a curt nod and gave the command. What a wonderful expression they had on their faces. At the break of dawn, the tale had become national news. Judge wrongfully arrested demands justice for all. Corrupt cops meet their match when suspect turns out to be a judge. Riggs and Delaney were not the only places that Marcus visited. The precinct's arrests over the last 5 years were subject to his demand for a comprehensive review. When exactly did the info reach you? There were hundreds of instances that had the same characteristics, which included resisting arrest, suspicion of robbery, and failure to comply. These particular cases targeted black and brown individuals disproportionately. The police station was the site of demonstrations that broke out. Officials from the city did their best to react. Are you Marcus? He returned to his courthouse, but this time, he was there with a new objective. He gave each and every case that came over his desk from that precinct a more thorough examination. Every single officer who entered the witness stand found themselves under his close scrutiny. Since this wasn't simply about getting vengeance on someone, the purpose of this was to convey a message. It's possible that the next black guy that people harass won't be a judge. However, he will have one. Crescent City had been rocked by the aftermath of Judge Marcus Johnson's arrest, which had sent shockwaves across the city. After being suspended, Riggs and Delaney were eventually indicted. A federal inquiry was being conducted against the police agency. Are you Marcus? Who's the judge who turned the tables on corrupt law enforcement officers, and he had become a folk hero. Oh. On the other hand, not everyone was reveling. A cigarette was crushed into an ashtray by Sergeant Vince Holloway, who was stationed in the back room of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge, which was located behind locked doors and had minimal lighting. A group of cops with severe expressions, their badges shined, and their jaws set, were seated in a circle around him. Holloway raised his voice and snarled, Johnson is making us look like animals. First Riggs and Delaney. Now eyes crawling through every case we've touched. This ends now. Hernandez, a younger officer, uneasily changed his position. What are you saying, Sarge? We can't touch a judge. It was a chilly grin that Holloway wore. No, but we can remind him that in this city, the law isn't the only thing that matters. As Marcus was leaving the courtroom late that night, he became aware of the vandalism that had been shown on his vehicle. These tires were cut. There was a spray-painted message that read, Know your place. Across the hood, unfazed, he let out a breath, predictable in nature. Then, his phone began to buzz. The number is not known. You got lucky last time, stop digging, or next time it won't be the car. As Marcus wrote back, he grinned and said, See you in court. On the next morning, Marcus entered his courtroom to find a media circus waiting for him. Do you agree? A young black activist named Darius Boone was detained during the demonstrations and accused with assaulting an officer. The state is suing Boone. Which cop made the arrest? Not anybody else except Sergeant Holloway himself. In a smug manner, Holloway sat at the prosecutor's table with his arms crossed, as if he were taunting Marcus to act in an inappropriate manner. The gavel was in Marcus's hand as he took his seat. Let's begin. Holloway entered the stand and told his typical story, which was that Boone had violently resisted, swung at officers, and was a threat to public safety.
Ow.
On the other hand, Marcus had completed his assignments. Sergeant Marcus interjected. You stated that Mr. Boone struck you with a closed fist, correct? Marcus was expressing his confusion. Yes, Your Honor. One of the keys on Marcus's laptop was tapped. The surveillance video emanating from a protester's live stream was shown on the screens in the courtroom. It showed Boone with his hands up, Holloway being the first to tackle him, and then alleging that he was struck. The gallery is in a frenzy. Using a gaze, Marcus was able to quiet them. Sergeant Holloway, would you like to revise your testimony? It became darker on Holloway's face. Your Honor, that footage as Marcus went to the board of jurors and said, authentic. Yes, it is. This case isn't about Darius Boone. It's about an officer who lies under oath. Again, as of midday, Holloway was the subject of an inquiry. Boone's lawsuit was thrown out of court. Are you Marcus? He had just created yet another adversary for himself. A reporter punched him in the face with a microphone. As he was leaving the courtroom, Judge Johnson, are you targeting police officers? One of Marcus's ties was modified. I'm judging them. There's a difference. During the evening, Marcus received yet another message. Once again, it was not a text message. There was a gunshot that had made its way into his mailbox. This is a note. Last warning. After rolling the bullet between his fingers, Marcus inserted it into the drawer of his desk, where it was put next to the other bullets. Because this was not yet finished. Process had just started.